Hi, I'm Govind Jayaraman, and I just wanted to introduce the Priority Star process to you. This is a great way to get things lined up because everything's going to start. And not everything is all as linear as a racetrack where you know where your next step has to go. In a business, everything's happening at the same time, and sometimes it's very difficult to get those things organized and lined up. And as business is growing, this can be even more complex. So the Priority Star process helps to get you figure out what to do first. And it helps you also articulate to your team key metrics. So what defines success in each of your priorities? And what does that look like? So what does success look like? It also lends to a brainstorming process that helps you get ideas from your team. So your team is contributing to the overall idea, the priority, and how it's going to be executed. So where does it start? Well, it starts by making a list. Make a list of all of the things that you want to accomplish. So these are, again, your priorities. Don't get bogged down between strategies and tactics. Just list down what you want to get done. And then if you can narrow it down to the 3 to 5 top things that you want to accomplish first, or most, that's great. But if you can't, start to think about trying to make groups of them. Narrow them down and push them into groups. Try to think about, even by using your team, if there's a way to make one priority bigger so that it makes other smaller priorities or smaller tasks irrelevant or redundant. So keep working the list until you get it down to 3 to 5. No less than 3, but no more than 5. Then work on the priorities one at a time. It's really important to understand what each of them is. So when you put each one on a separate piece of paper, come up with a title or a headline, something to name it. So when you've named it, it can take on a bit of a persona. You also know within your team what you're talking about. Define success. So what key metrics, numbers, define success in each priority? Make sure they're SMART, right? So specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and timed. Each one of those defines success for each one of those priorities. It's really critical because it helps to, again, filter what it means when you're talking about that priority, when you're talking about that name. Now brainstorm some ideas. Fill the rest of the page if you can. Things that you can do to achieve success in each of those priorities. You're looking for quantity over quality here, and you're really trying to build out your understanding of the priority, what it means to do this thing. Now, do this for each of your 3 to 5 priorities. So you've got a separate piece of paper for each one of them with a headline, the metrics of success, the SMART goal, and then after that, you've got a list of brainstorm ideas. Then you start the STAR process. The STAR process, think about plotting each one on a separate piece of paper, each one of your priorities in a pattern, something like this. So I've just labeled them here A, B, C, D, E, but you'd actually use the name, the title that you gave each one of those priorities at the top of your page, and you'd put them on a page like this. Then you start to understand the relationships, and the question that you want to ask yourself, does A drive B or does B drive A? Another way of thinking about that is, if I do A, does it make accomplishing B easier, or is it the other way around? And you do this focusing just on A and the relationships between A and B, and then A and C, A and D, and A and E. And in this example, A drives all of them. So A drives B, A drives C, A drives D, and A drives E. Now, we move to B, and we do the same thing. So B makes it easier to do C, B drives D, and B drives E. So we know that we're pointing arrows from where it, from the first thing to the second thing, whatever it makes it easier. And we do the same thing with C. So we're exploring the relationships between C and D, and C and E. And in this case, again, C drives D and C drives E. And last but not least, we go from D to E. And it's the same thing. D is driving E. Now, in this case, it works clockwise, but it doesn't have to work that way. It just happened to be, for this example, that it works this way. And you can see in the center of the diagram, you see the star. So the priority star sits right there in the middle of all of that. Now, we've got the star and these priorities on a piece of paper, but really, what does it mean? Well, you count the arrowheads. So through this model, we can see that, in fact, there are no arrowheads at A, there's 1 arrowhead at B, 2 arrowheads at C, 3 arrowheads at D, and 4 at E. And really what that means is that A is our first priority, B is our second priority, C is our third priority, D is our fourth priority, and E is our fifth. And then we've developed our top 5. And it's that easy to break down the process. If you go through it systematically, it can happen this easily. Even in very complicated situations with 15, 20 people, I've seen this happen. Very quickly, within a few hours, you can come to consensus around the priority star. And this is a process that is well known in entrepreneur circles. It was developed by the Entrepreneurs Organization. So use it and be well. Make it a great day.